One of the toughest lessons in dealing with other people is realizing that not everyone who suffers deserves to be saved by you. That may sound harsh, particularly since compassion has always been presented as a virtue. You're taught to help those who struggle, to forgive those who fall short, and to stand by people when their lives fall apart. But there's a distinction that perceptive people learn to notice. Some people run into trouble because life has thrown an obstacle in their way, while others keep manufacturing the same problems through their own choices, and then expect someone else to clean up the mess. If you can't see that difference, your kindness can turn into a trap. Look carefully at the person who is constantly in crisis. Something goes wrong financially and you bail them out. They make another careless decision and you bail them out again. They wreck a relationship, throw away an opportunity, brush off good advice, and somehow you're the one expected to fix it all. Each crisis looks different on the surface, but underneath, the pattern stays the same. They create the mess, you clean it up, they repeat the behavior. Eventually, you have to ask yourself whether you're truly helping them or simply shielding them from the lessons their own actions are trying to teach. Consequences aren't always cruelty. Sometimes they're education. A person who never feels the cost of their decisions has little reason to change those decisions. If you keep paying the price for someone else's carelessness, you take away the pressure that might otherwise push them toward discipline. Your rescue might feel loving in the moment, but over time, it can breed weakness. This is why you have to stop mistaking compassion for permanent obligation. There's nothing wrong with helping someone who has truly fallen. If a person is genuinely trying to recover, your support can give them the strength to get back on their feet. But there's a real difference between helping someone stand and carrying them forever. Watch how they respond after you help them. Do they learn from it? Do they own their part? Do they change how they act? Do they appreciate what you've done and try to become more self-sufficient? Or do they just wait for the next disaster? The answer tells you everything. Someone who genuinely wants to grow will eventually rely less on your rescue. They may still need support now and then, but they'll use it as a stepping stone towards standing on their own. The person who only wants to be saved will treat your generosity as a resource that must always be on tap. And once they realize you'll always come through, they may stop fearing what their actions cost. This sets up a dangerous psychological pattern. You start believing their survival hinges on you. They start believing you'll always show up. Your relationship becomes built around emergencies instead of mutual respect. You turn into the fix for problems you never caused. At first, this might make you feel significant. Being needed can feel like power, but there's a hidden risk in becoming essential to someone else's dysfunction. You can get so wrapped up in saving them that you neglect your own life, ambitions, finances, peace, and relationships. You end up paying for decisions that were never yours to begin with. The smarter approach is to offer responsibility instead of rescue. Give guidance when it fits, offer a real chance, provide temporary help when there's genuine cause, but make sure the person pulls their own weight. Let them take part in solving the problem they created. If they won't, pull back. That's not abandonment, it's clarity. You can't shape someone else's character by continuously shielding them from consequences. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is let reality become their teacher. Remember, helping someone once can be an act of compassion. Repeatedly bailing someone out of the same self-made disaster can turn into participation in their own downfall. Know the difference and guard your own strength while you lift others up. Trust is among the most valuable forms of power you can hand someone. Because when you trust a person, you give them a window into things the rest of the world never gets to see. You expose your weaknesses, your plans, your fears, your resources, and sometimes the parts of yourself you'd never reveal to a stranger. This is why betrayal cuts deeper than an ordinary disagreement. A disagreement challenges your opinion. Betrayal exploits your openness. And once someone has betrayed your trust more than once, you have to stop confusing forgiveness with continued access. Some people mess up once and truly feel regret. Others betray you again and again, apologize once caught, swear they've changed, and then eventually repeat the very same thing. These are not the same situation. The first may earn another chance. The second calls for distance. You need to learn to study patterns, not promises. Anyone can say, "I would never do that again." Anyone can turn emotional, apologize, and beg you to move past what happened. Words come easily when someone is afraid of losing access to you. The real question is what they do after the apology. Do they change how they behave? Do they grow more honest? Do they honor the boundaries they broke before? Do they take ownership without pointing fingers at you? Or do they simply wait for the tension to fade before slipping back into old habits? This is where many people get stuck. They want to believe the person they trusted is still who they imagine them to be. They recall the good times. They recall the shared history. They recall every instance that person helped them before. And because of those memories, they overlook the evidence right in front of them. But history doesn't erase patterns. Someone can have treated you well once and still be someone you can't safely trust today. You don't have to hate them. You don't need revenge. You don't even need to call them out publicly. You simply need to change how much access they have to your life. This matters especially when someone has turned your generosity against you. Maybe you gave them a chance and they betrayed your confidence. Maybe you defended them and they later turned on you. Maybe you shared something personal and they eventually used it to embarrass or manipulate you. The lesson isn't that you should never trust again. The lesson is that trust needs to become smarter. Don't hand someone unrestricted access just because they ask for forgiveness. Let their actions earn it back gradually, if it can be earned back at all. There's a difference between forgiving someone in your heart and trusting them strategically. You can let go of your anger without giving that person another chance to hurt you. You can wish someone well while still keeping them outside your inner circle. You can accept an apology without pretending nothing occurred. This isn't cruelty, it's discernment. The person who repeatedly betrays you has already told you something about who they are. When you ignore that and keep rescuing them, you're no longer just being generous. You're refusing to face reality. And reality is often far more honest than words. A trustworthy person understands that having access to someone's life is a responsibility. They guard what you share with them. They respect your boundaries. They don't treat your kindness as a weakness. They don't wait for moments of conflict to weaponize your vulnerabilities. But someone who betrays you over and over has shown that they value their short-term gain more than your trust. Don't keep giving them endless chances to teach you the same lesson. Your loyalty should have limits. Your forgiveness can be generous, but your access should be earned. When someone shows repeatedly that they can't be trusted, the strongest response isn't revenge, it's distance. Protect your trust, because once you grasp its worth, you'll stop handing it to people who have already shown you exactly what they'll do with it. There's another type of person you need to learn to spot before you keep giving them your time, resources, and protection. The one who only shows up when they need something from you. They might call you a close friend, speak fondly of how much you mean to them, and make you feel like the relationship is real, but their actions tell a different story. When life is going smoothly, they're nowhere to be found. When they need cash, guidance, a connection, a favor, a place to crash, emotional support, or someone to fix a problem, suddenly they remember exactly where to find you. This pattern is easy to overlook because people naturally want to believe their relationships are authentic. You remember the conversations, the laughs, the shared history, and the times you helped each other. But a relationship shouldn't be judged only by how someone acts when they need you. It should also be judged by how they act when you need nothing from them and they need nothing from you. Watch what happens when there's nothing in it for them. Do they still reach out? Do they check on how you're doing? Do they cheer for your progress? Do they offer support without being asked? Do they remember the things that matter to you? Or does the relationship go quiet until another problem comes up? The line between friendship and dependency often shows itself in these quiet stretches. Someone who genuinely values you wants your company, not just your resources. They might ask for help, but they also recognize that you have your own responsibilities. They don't turn every conversation into their own crisis. They don't treat your generosity like a bottomless well. They understand that your time, money, energy, and knowledge belong to you. But the person who mainly sees you as a resource behaves differently. They might become unusually warm right when they need something. They might bring up how long you've known each other before asking for a favor. They might make you feel guilty for saying no. They might say, "I thought I could count on you," as if your refusal were a betrayal. This is where you need to stay alert. Being capable of helping someone doesn't mean you're obligated to help every single time. Your resources aren't public property just because you have more than someone else. Your kindness doesn't create a permanent debt, and your past generosity doesn't guarantee future access. Sometimes the most revealing test is simply saying no. You don't have to be harsh about it. You don't need a lengthy explanation. Just decline and watch what happens next. A genuine person may be let down, but they'll respect your decision. Someone who only cares about what you provide might suddenly shift their attitude. They may turn cold, angry, manipulative, or vanish entirely. That reaction tells you something. Never underestimate the value of that information. When someone walks away because you stop supplying benefits, they may have actually done you a favor. They've revealed the true nature of the relationship without making you spend years finding out the hard way. This doesn't mean you should become selfish or turn away everyone who asks for help. Generosity carries real power when it's deliberate. There will always be moments when someone genuinely needs a hand, and helping them can mean something. But generosity should build strength, not permanent dependence. Help people who are making an effort to help themselves. Support people who are willing to carry their share of the load. Give opportunities to those who use them wisely, but don't become the permanent fix for someone who refuses to develop the ability to handle their own problems. Your resources should strengthen relationships, not define them. The more successful, capable, or generous you become, the more carefully you must decide where your resources go. Not everyone who needs you deserves unlimited access to you. Some people come to you because they value you. Others come to you because they value what they can get from you. Learn to tell the difference. Because once you stop letting people treat your generosity like an endless resource, you find out who actually values you and who is simply waiting for their next favor. There's a particularly dangerous kind of relationship you need to learn to recognize. The person who accepts your help while quietly resenting your success. This person might smile when you succeed, thank you when you assist them, and stay close enough to keep benefiting from your strength. Yet underneath, there may be a silent comparison happening. They're measuring themselves against you, and every improvement in your life becomes a reminder of what they feel they're missing. This is where generosity gets complicated. You might think, if I help this person succeed, they'll appreciate me. But appreciation isn't guaranteed just because you've been generous. Some people don't experience another person's success as inspiration. They experience it as a threat. Watch what happens when you start to rise. When your career takes off, do they celebrate with you or immediately hunt for something to criticize? When you achieve something difficult, do they congratulate you or explain why it wasn't really that impressive? When your confidence grows, do they encourage it or remind you of every mistake you've ever made? These patterns matter. A person who genuinely wants to see you succeed can benefit from your strength without feeling threatened by it. They can stand beside you as you grow without constantly needing to compete. They can accept your advice without turning your success into an excuse to attack you. But resentment creates a different dynamic. Someone may accept your help while secretly hoping you never become too powerful. They may ask for your advice but criticize your accomplishments. They may lean on your connections while quietly doubting your abilities. They may celebrate your wins in public, but drop subtle comments in private that chip away at your confidence. This contradiction can be hard to grasp because you tend to focus on what they get from you rather than what they actually feel toward you. But dependence doesn't always breed loyalty. Sometimes the person who benefits most from your strength is the very person who most wants to see you brought down. Why? Because your success invites comparison. Your progress becomes proof of their own lack of progress. Your discipline reminds them of their own inconsistency. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your opportunities remind them of opportunities they never chased. Rather than confront themselves, they may try to cut you down instead. This can show up as subtle discouragement. They may accuse you of becoming arrogant when you're simply becoming confident. They may hint that your ambitions are unrealistic. They may question every opportunity that comes your way. They may push you to stay exactly where you are because your growth makes the relationship uncomfortable for them. And sometimes they'll use your generosity to stay close. They accept your help because it benefits them, but they don't necessarily want you to become stronger than them. This is why you must understand the difference between helping someone and empowering someone who resents you. Help shouldn't require you to shrink yourself. You can give advice without giving up your standing. You can offer an opportunity without becoming responsible for someone's entire future. You can support another person's growth without ignoring the signs that they secretly want yours to stall. Pay attention to reciprocity, but also pay attention to emotional reactions. When you succeed, who is genuinely happy for you? When you get recognized, who seems uncomfortable? When your confidence rises, who tries to pull you back to your old self? These questions reveal more than any dramatic confrontation ever could. Don't become paranoid. Not everyone who disagrees with you is jealous, and not every piece of criticism is resentment. A genuine friend may push back on your decisions precisely because they care about your future. The difference is that honest criticism is meant to strengthen you, while hidden resentment often seems bent on shrinking you. If someone keeps benefiting from your generosity while simultaneously undercutting your progress, reconsider the relationship. You don't need to destroy them. You don't need to expose them. You simply need to stop handing unlimited resources to someone who doesn't genuinely respect your growth. Because the person who needs your strength but resents your power should never get unlimited access to either one. There's another type of person you need to learn to stop saving. The person who refuses to change. This is one of the hardest situations to spot because at first their struggle can seem real. They'll tell you about their problems, their hard circumstances, their disappointments, and everything that's gone wrong in their life. You listen because you care. You give advice because you want them to do better. You give them another chance because you believe people deserve chances. But eventually you have to ask a harder question. What are they doing with the chances you keep handing them? A person can make mistakes without being a bad person. Everyone fails sometimes. Everyone makes poor choices. Everyone hits moments when they need support. The danger begins when failure becomes a permanent identity and responsibility keeps getting handed off to someone else. You help them solve one problem and another shows up. You give advice and they ignore it. You create an opportunity and they waste it. You warn them about the consequences and they repeat the same behavior anyway. Then they come back to you expecting another rescue. At some point, the issue isn't the crisis itself anymore. The issue is the refusal to learn from it. This is where many caring people get trapped. They believe that because they're able to help, they're obligated to help forever. They start measuring their own goodness by how much of someone else's suffering they can absorb. But your ability to save someone doesn't make their problems yours to carry. There's a real difference between supporting someone who's trying to change and protecting someone who's decided not to. The person who genuinely wants to grow may stumble over and over, but you'll notice movement. They may slip up, but they take ownership. They may fall, but they try to get back up. They may need help, but they don't expect you to carry them forever. That effort matters. The person who refuses to change acts differently. They explain away why nothing is ever their fault. They blame their circumstances, their family, their friends, their employer, society, or whoever else is available. Every solution you offer gets rejected because they're not actually looking for a solution. They're looking for relief without accountability. And if you keep supplying that relief, you may end up reinforcing the very behavior that keeps them stuck. Sometimes consequences are the only language a person understands. If someone refuses to manage their money, eventually they have to face what irresponsible spending costs them. If someone keeps ruining relationships through dishonesty, they may eventually face loneliness. If someone refuses to work toward a goal, they may eventually have to confront the reality of staying exactly where they are. You don't have to make those consequences harsher, but you also don't always have to prevent them. This takes emotional strength because watching someone struggle can feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty. You might think, if I'm able to help, why wouldn't I? But there's another question worth asking. Will my help actually make them stronger, or will it simply let them stay the same? That question protects you from getting trapped in endless rescue. Your job isn't to save everyone from every consequence. Your job is to use your strength wisely, give advice when it can actually help, offer opportunities when someone shows real commitment, support genuine effort, encourage accountability. But when someone keeps rejecting every path toward change, pull back. Let reality teach the lesson your words couldn't. You can't want someone's transformation more than they want it for themselves. And if you keep sacrificing your peace, resources, time, and energy for someone who refuses to change, eventually their standing still becomes your burden to carry. Compassion should give people a chance to rise, not permission to stay permanently dependent. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is to stop rescuing and let a person finally take responsibility for the life they've chosen. The last lesson may be the hardest to accept. Never give up everything to save someone who wouldn't do the same for you. There's a difference between loyalty and self-destruction, between compassion and dependence, between helping someone and letting their problems swallow your life. You may feel a strong sense of duty toward the people you care about, but that duty has limits. The moment helping another person costs you your own peace, reputation, resources, future, or stability, you need to stop and ask whether your loyalty has turned into a form of self-betrayal. Many people confuse being needed with being valued. They assume that if someone leans heavily on them, the relationship must be meaningful. But dependence isn't the same as loyalty. Someone can need your money, your connections, your protection, your attention, or your emotional strength without actually caring what happens to you. This becomes obvious when you're the one in trouble. Imagine you've spent years helping someone. You answered their calls, defended them, gave them chances, listened to their problems, and stood by them when everyone else walked away. Then one day you're the one who needs support. You ask for something reasonable, and suddenly they're unreachable. They have excuses. They're too busy. They can't help. They vanish. That moment can reveal more about a relationship than years of promises ever could. Don't ignore it. Reciprocity doesn't mean keeping a running tally of every favor. Real relationships aren't transactions where every act of kindness has to be paid back immediately. There will be times you give more and times the other person gives more. But over time, there should be some sign that your loyalty actually matters to them. If you're always the one sacrificing and they're always the one receiving, the relationship isn't balanced. That imbalance turns dangerous when the person starts expecting you to sacrifice even more. They may ask you to risk your reputation for them. They may expect you to lie on their behalf. They may demand financial help that puts your own stability at risk. They may expect you to abandon your goals to fix problems they created. They may use guilt to convince you that saying no means you don't care. This is where you have to get serious about responsibility. You can care about someone without owning every consequence of their choices. You can love someone without letting them wreck your peace. You can forgive someone without continuing to rescue them. You can support someone without sacrificing your entire future. The strongest people understand that boundaries aren't proof of selfishness. Boundaries are proof that you understand the value of your own life. Your future deserves protection too. Every resource you give away carries an opportunity cost. Every hour spent fixing someone else's repeated crisis is an hour taken away from your own growth. Every unnecessary conflict you absorb drains attention that could have gone into building your future. Every financial sacrifice made for someone irresponsible can create instability in your own life. This doesn't mean turning cold, it means becoming strategic. Before you rescue someone, ask yourself a simple question. If I give this person what they're asking for, will it genuinely make them stronger? Or will it simply make